Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Mozart's Die Zauberflöte with conductor Einars Rubikis, which I saw at the Komische Oper Berlin. This marks the fourth time I saw this particular production of Mozart's Die Zauberflöte because I wanted to see Alma Sadé perform the role of Pamina. Now, 2 years ago, she performed the role of Papagena, and I was rather excited to see how her career was developing from the soubrette-ish, pert, and perky role of Papagena to singing the more poignant, lyrical, and graceful role of Pamina. And I thought that she did a very laudable effort taking all that she had within her and having all of the courage and all of the determination to take on this iconic princess. She was able to sing this role in such a lovely manner, all thanks to her silvery and sweet voice, but there could be a whole lot more development and she could sound a whole lot better if she can be able to further coordinate her head voice and chest voice, ensure that she sings all of her low notes well, and ensure that she does not give in to mediocrity or even bad habits, such as mask singing or even leaving out all those chest tones. She really needs those chest tones because those are where the drama lies in, and those are where all the emotions come from, and those are where all the expressivity all come from. Not to mention, I have in my ears a lot of my most favorite Paminas, including the likes of Anna Moffo, Valerie Masterson, and Ileana Kotrubash, the latter being my most favorite because of how she managed to use both her head voice and chest voice in a way that made her superb. And not only that role, but also roles such as Antonia, Gilda, Violetta, and even Melisande Micaela. In fact, I could see a fine future for Miss Sade in the more lyric soprano roles if she develops her chest tones and if she manages to coordinate her head voice and chest voice into great harmony. I'm pretty sure we would have a soprano who can be able to sing the likes of Antonia, Gilda, Adina, Norina, Amina, Juliet from both Romeo and Juliet, and from I Capuletti e Montecchi, Melisande, Micaela, Lauretta, Liu, and even Massenet's Manon and Cendrillon. The possibilities for this rising lyric soprano are absolutely endless, and I would really love to see her career move on forward, especially with the French and Italian roles, because those are the roles I would really love to hear more of her in. She does have lots of potential to grow, and she does have a lot of wonderful material to work off of, and I seriously hope that she does not squander her talents, because that is a brilliant voice right there in need of a lot more development, and a voice that is in need of a great direction, and of course, someone who is on the cusp of an international career. Georgina Melville was quite stunning as Papagena, and this was the first time I saw this particular young, lively, light lyric coloratura soprano perform such a lovely role. And she had an equally angelic voice, which also has so much potential to grow, so much more potential to shine, and even so much more potential to have an international career. Not only singing at the Komische Oper Berlin, but also in other great opera houses of the world. Her interpretation as Papagena was lively, sweet, delicate in the most positive way, and of course, absolutely harmonious. Her voice definitely has all the potential to sing roles such as Susanna, Adina, Norina, Zerlina, Despina, Musetta, Lauretta, Anna Reich, Olympia, Blondchen, Zerbinetta, Fiacchermilli, and many other wonderful roles for a lyric coloratura soprano. She has a lot of talent and a lot of beauty to give to the world, and I would love to hear and see her career and voice develop a lot more, because that is a brilliant voice right there that is full of purity, full of cleanliness, and of course, a voice that has a great amount of sheen to be found. Striking again as Tamino was Jussi Millis, who I also saw 2 times 2 years ago at the Suomen Kansalliopera performing this role in Finnish. He definitely continued to grow as a fine lyric tenor, and sure, even though his voice did have the tendency to be produced in a rather unusual way as opposed to the cleaner and clearer attacks found in the likes of Walter Ludwig, Julius Patzak, and even my personal favorite Tamino, the great and wonderful Fritz Wunderlich, I still have to give Mr. Millis a lot of credit for what he was able to pull off as Tamino. He was absolutely vibrant, both theatrically and vocally, and he was able to make his voice shine in a very fine way. And I would also love to hear and see him in a lot more French and Italian roles, such as Léopold from La Juive, Corentin from De Nora, Jean de Léden from Le Prophète, Rôle de Nancy from Les Huguenots, Roméo from Roméo et Juliette, Vincent from Mireille, Rinuccio from Gianni Schicchi, Il Duca di Mantova from Rigoletto, Alfredo from La Traviata, Edgardo from Lucia di Lammermoor, Nemorino from L'Elisir d'Amore, Ernesto from Don Pasquale, Tonio from La Fidoragimo, Elvino from La Sonambula, Arturo from I Puritani, Tebaldo from I Capulette e Montecchi, Gérald from Lacme, De Grieux from Manon, and many other wonderful roles for a tenor specializing in the French and Italian repertoires. He definitely has a lot of wonderful material to work off of, all thanks to his very fine voice, and I would love to see and hear him develop in the right way, because the material that he has is absolutely wonderful. And I'm pretty sure that with his voice going in a greater direction, and of course, ensuring that his voice maintains in that cleanliness, he will definitely reach greater heights. Dominic Koeninger continues to be a rather solid Papageno. Sure, his voice does lack in a certain depth, richness, roundness, and virility that I love in any baritone a la Erich Kunz and Giuseppe Taddei, but what he managed to do as Papageno was ensure that he remained charismatic, lively, and pert in his own special way, and he was able to nonetheless sing his arias rather well, even though he does need a lot more development in ensuring that those tones are rich, round, and absolutely chesty like a real baritone should sound. Nevertheless, he was charismatic and charming as he's always been, and I would love to see his career develop a lot more. Also striking again as the Queen of the Night was Danae Contora, who I also saw 2 years ago in that very role at the Semperoper Dresden. And while I did think that she managed to do a very solid job singing this role, all thanks to the attacks that she managed to make on the high notes, especially those high Fs, there were times that I felt like her voice lacked in that richness, regalness, strength, nobility, and absolute power that is necessary as the Queen of the Night. Because if you know me, I prefer a dramatic coloratura soprano singing this role. The only ones that come into my ears when it comes to singing the Queen of the Night are the likes of Frida Hempel and my most favorite Queen of the Night of all time, Christina Dörtekom. The only sopranos that manage to sing this role very well these days are the likes of Klara Kolonitz, Anna Dorlovsky, Jessica Pratt, Albina Shagimuratova, Yana Shrema Kachirkova, Hulkar Sabirova, and Catherine Luick, among many of the full-voiced and those who possess a big timbre necessary for the Queen of the Night. With Danae Contora, she was rather okay, and she seriously needs to develop the lower part of her voice a lot more if she can be able to sing a lot more powerfully and more incisively in the future. If I were her, the coloratura sopranos I will gladly recommend to her are the likes of Frida Hempel, Luisa Tetrazzini, Elvira de Hidalgo, Adelina Patti, Nelly Melba, Zelma Kurz, Ada Zari, Edino Rena, and of course Christina Dortacom, as these were big-voiced and absolutely wide-ranging coloratura sopranos who not only had the high notes that were piercing in the fullest way possible, but also had some really great chest tones. Moreover, I'm sure that if she continues to develop her voice in the right way, we would definitely have a singer who can sing the likes of Lucia Ashton, Lacme, Marguerite de Valois, Isabelle from Robert le Diable, Amalia from Imas Nadieri, Violetta from La Traviata, Elvira from I Puritani, Beatrice di Tenda, Matilde from Guillaume Tell, as well as Mathilde de Chabran, and even Massenet's Manon and Gounod's Mireille Marguerite from Faust, and Juliette from Romeo et Juliette. I would definitely love to see Danae Contora in a lot more Italian and French roles because her voice definitely has a lot of potential to reach those said heights. And this is an absolutely fine soprano who has a great international career ahead of her, and I do not want to see or hear her squander her talents. Her voice does need a lot of nurturing and growth, and I seriously hope that she will develop in the right way so that she can continue reaching those awesome heights. Jens Larsen was no stranger when it comes to singing Zarastro. Sure, he managed to have those rich low tones that he managed to sing rather well. However, his technique was marred by some wobbles and tremolos and excessive vibratos that I heard in his voice, which kind of put a dent on his singing because he did have a strong stage presence as this iconic priest. And whenever I think of a great Sarastro, I think of the likes of Alexander Kipnis, Ezio Pinza, Paul Bender, Herbert Alsen, Gottlob Frick, Kurt Böhmer, Josef Greindl, Raffaele Arie, Jerome Hines, Giorgio Tozzi, Cesare Siepi, Karl Ridderbusch, Martti Talvala, and Hans Zoten, just to name a few, a lot of the great basso cantantes / basso profondos who have specialized as this iconic priest. With Jens Larsen, I thought that he kind of paled in comparison to those aforementioned bassos, even though he did have a fair amount of richness, fullness, and absolute authority in this role, though it was rather marred by those wobbles, excessive vibratos, and tremolos that I heard in a lot of parts of his voice. Nevertheless, he was able to soldier on, and he managed to do a rather fine job with singing Zarastro. Ivan Turšič was an absolutely characterful monostatos, with his fine, light tenor voice, which had a fair amount of sheen, and of course, his equally fine stage presence. He was able to make something really strong and absolutely captivating as monostatos. He definitely caught me at the edge of my seat, and for that, I have to salute him for also doing such a fine job with this particular role. There was even some equally fine singing to be found in Mirka Wagner's absolutely luscious, well-toned, gorgeous, and indubitably cleanly toned First Lady, who is able to show a lot of great musical prowess throughout her scenes and did so in a way that made her stand out extremely well. Marta Mika's absolutely fine and lovely second lady, who does have a brilliant future ahead of her so long as she keeps on developing those chest tones and keeps on developing in the right way. Karen van Ooyen's luscious and absolutely plush third lady, who also had a fair amount of chest voice, even though she could take advantage of her chest tones a lot more. Changdai Park's solid and absolutely fine second armed man, even though he does need to ensure that his basso cantante voice continues to be beefed up so that he can be able to take on more challenging basso cantante parts, as well as ensure that his technique stays sharpened for the bigger roles to come. Johannes Dunz's graciously toned and absolutely fine full lyric tenor, who managed to make such an awesome impression as the first armed man. And of course, the fine singing to be accomplished by the members of the Tölzer Knabenchors in the forms of August Sohm, Valentin Piller, and Gero Horn. So overall, the singing did have a lot of fine moments to be found, even in spite of some vocal troubles or even the constant need of improvement. Nevertheless, when it came to all the singers, I still have to give my hat off to Alma Sadé, who was able to make such a fine portrayal as Pamina, which was not an easy job to do. Sure, the scenario of a soprano at first singing Papagena and then graduating to either the Queen of the Night or even Pamina, though a lot of former Papagenas would end up singing Pamina because of those lyrical lines. But the fact that Alma Sadé managed to summon up the courage and a lot of her skills as a singing actress to pull off this part was not only a very good job on her, but also showed just how much dedication and how much she was able to give to ensure that this role came from her voice, and she did so in a way that managed to serve it well. The conducting done by Einar Strubikis was rather solid, even though there were times there were some hit and miss moments, such as the two-armed men scene in which the singers and the orchestra could not really catch up with each other, which was kind of a shame because that particular scene with the two-armed men has one of the most glorious music ever, and there were even some moments in which the singers and the orchestra didn't really catch up with each other that well. Nevertheless, I thought that he managed to lead the orchestra of the Komische Oper in a very solid manner, though he could use a little bit more tact and precision. And of course, the chorus and orchestra of the Komische Oper Berlin were absolutely fabulous, as they've always been. So overall, with a very brave job accomplished by Alma Sadé as Pamina, and even being backed up by such a fine cast of singers such as Jussi Milles, Dominic Koeninger, Georgina Melville, Jens Larsen, Danae Contora, plus some okay conducting to be done by Einar Strubikis, who did have some moments of trouble, but nonetheless managed to pick everything back up. And of course, the laudable effort accomplished by the orchestra and chorus of the Komische Oper Berlin. I definitely had a fun time with this particular Zauberflöte, even in spite of some of the issues I had, both with some of the singing and with some of the moments of conducting. I was still able to enjoy myself, if only to hear Alma Sadé do a very brave job singing the role of Pamina. And for those of you who saw this particular production of Mozart's Die Zauberflöte at the Komische Oper Berlin, what'd you think of it? Do you feel that Alma Sadé did very well as Pamina? Was there another singer who stole her thunder? Or did you feel like the singing was not really up to par? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for my review of Rossini's Il Barbiere di Siviglia at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. So until then, good night everybody and happy holidays.